So I've been asked by one of my most loyal and active followers to do a follow-up on a project here. This is property that I own, including this little section of river and a bit of land on the other side of it, as well as the land in here, which I will show you in a minute. And I will admit I have not been here in maybe over a year, somewhere around that. And there's a little bit of avoidance involved there because this is a project that is going to require time and money to complete. And for the last year or more, I've been really focused on using all of my time to make money. So this little corner here, this little triangle between the alleyway and what looks like a driveway, but is actually a road here, according to plot maps, and this creek. This is public. I don't think many people know that it's public, but this is actually a little public triangle of land, and I sometimes see people out here fishing and stuff like that. And it looks like we have a memorial here, and this person was born the same year as me. This is the first time I'm seeing this. That's very sad, and this is a little bit messy looking, but I see the intention here, and maybe it could be cleaned up because some of this is just trash. And to better honor him, if I'm around spending more time here, I'll probably try to clean it up a little bit and neaten it up, but keep the memorial that somebody or somebodies have lovingly put together for this person who I do not know. I do have a neighbor here, and I bought this property at tax auction maybe 6 or so years ago. It's been a while. It used to be his property. Some of his property was left on the property previously, and it was visible in the ad, the online ad through the tax sale auction website. So I knew that I'd be cleaning up some stuff from the property and also meeting, the neighbor who left it there. And I didn't know whether, what kind of relationship that might be. And it turns out he's a pretty nice guy who I don't like that my shed is open, but everything's just a mess and a bunch of trash right now anyway, so not a big deal. Doesn't mean anybody opened it necessarily. Might just have blown open and I can try to put something against it to close it, but I'm pretty sure I would have done that before, so it might mean that someone opened it. There wasn't much in there for them to find. Right now, this is a bunch of trash. Some of this trash is out in the open because I wanted to clear it out of the shed, because this could be a functional space, and pretty sure someone has rummaged around in here, because I don't think it was quite this horrible. But another thing that happened is that this property does and can flood. We'll talk about the boat in a minute because that is my cabin here on the property. But this property can and does, look at this speaker out here, flood. And it basically, I was standing on the cord, of course. For the first several years, the ground would get wet on occasion, but it never actually really flooded. And so I thought that the extent of the flooding really was just the ground would get wet. And then one time I came out and everything in here was completely ruined like this. So this actually might be, now that I'm remembering, this might be just kind of the way I left it. because it was all neat and organized. And there was actually a flood that was severe enough to wash things away and around on the property, which is why all this is jumbled up and knocked over. Because yes, I do have a bunch of junk on the property that's real and something I'm just going to admit to, but it wasn't all strewn about like this. And that happened because it did flood and stuff got pushed around on the property. So, and all that mud and silt and stuff that you see on stuff in the shed, that is because of that. So now this latch is torn off. I'm not sure why someone did that. If it got blasted open in a flood or what, I really have no idea. I thought I had this actually leaned against the front door, kind of deter people from getting in. Not that anybody, you know, it's like you always see the no trespassing, private property, do not enter signs on properties that look like no one would ever want to probably enter them anyways. And this definitely falls into that category right now. Probably no one's going to come here expecting to find anything of value, and anything of value that was in that shed probably got destroyed. Biggest loss, I think, was a guitar amp that got completely flooded out. Now is probably best just for scrap. I am wondering if there's been another flood since then, because as of the last flood, this was not really tilted like this. So I do have, and this was a subject of a previous video, which was kind of the one that this person commented on. But I do have blocks under here. I did kind of dig it out. I did block it up and make this boat essentially level. I started to form what could be a foundation for the boat. I'm seeing rot damage here, and this is kind of to be expected because I left this to the elements for about a year or two as of this moment. And the biggest concern here is that water's probably actually gotten into, oh wow. Also, there were 3 trees here. One here, all covered in poison ivy. One there, and one here that I expected to fall at some point because it was rotting at the bottom. And it has, in fact, fallen now. A lot of these tires, in fact, all of these tires, I believe, were here when I purchased the property. So I've fallen into a few of the temptations of having an auxiliary property. One of those temptations is to allow it to become a storage space for just whatever you don't have time to deal with in the moment. And so I've definitely fallen into that temptation. Another temptation is to have a bunch of ideas but not follow through on any of them, and that results in a very similar circumstance as using it as a storage space. The effect is basically the same. You end up with a bunch of stuff that is basically just junk on the property. So slightly different cause, but same effect. What's going on here? Not sure what that is. Anyway, I don't really remember this, but maybe it's just kind of deteriorated over time. It looks like steel wool that got stuffed into those little holes. I don't remember doing that or noticing that before, but we'll climb up there and take a look in a minute and look inside. It appears that my canoe here may not have been damaged miraculously. A tree fell alongside of it, seemingly without damaging it. And it might be a little bit tough to pull it out of here, but I think it may have gotten away unscathed. Now what else? A bunch more tires. This is more of the wetland area back here. Obviously it's all out of control. That's not good. The door on the boat is open. Again, there's nothing really of value in there if someone went in, but that door I don't think would open on its own, but maybe it did, you know, as moisture, heat caused it to expand and contract. It's possible it opened on its own. It's also very possible that people have come into this property. So the positive of letting things go natural is you get a lot of nature. Obviously he hasn't been keeping up on his yard either, and that's really okay right here. I mean, look at this fence line. That's the fence line against the alleyway, which not a lot of people travel down anyway, and those who do really probably don't care. But it's pretty well grown in just along the fence line. You're not going to look into this and think, oh, that should be a yard. And honestly, it's becoming so natural that it looks like the wetland that it is. So cool, I'm glad this fell when no one was out here. This tree needed to come down, so it just kind of took care of itself there. And now the goal, I'll probably just I'll put this ladder up to climb onto the boat. I thought there were some rungs over the side, on one side or the other, but maybe not. So it's been a minute. So let's put this ladder up and get into the boat. It's probably a good thing that the ladder was down. I don't think I left it down. But it's kind of good because if people have to even put a little effort into trespassing or vandalizing, they're slightly less likely to do it than if they can do it with no effort. So here's the deck. I've scooted all of these blue painted 2x6s up against each other to kind of be one continuous deck. And I put this portion of the boat, which was sitting up there, which made it another 2 feet higher than it already is for transporting and stuff like that. I put it down here. Obviously there's some extra space down there. I see a little hole right there, so this would not be watertight. I knew the boat was not watertight when I bought it. The good stuff is inside there, but let's take a look up here really quick. I really wish this wasn't open. And it's possible that blew open, but highly unlikely. I'd say someone probably came up here and opened it, but I don't know that. Just a guess. Can do a little bit of weeding here on the seat. So future plans. Like I said, this could take time. The first step in this process, I think, is to clean it out. Throw stuff away. Pay to throw stuff away. You know, I think the temptation is, and may be one that I give into, to probably list this truck cap for sale for $20. Try and make $20 off of it instead of paying money to put it in a landfill. But at the same time, that can be how you end up with stuff sitting around forever that's not conducive to your goal. So I'll have to consider that and consider whether it's worth just going ahead and paying money to get rid of stuff so that I can have a clean slate instead of this disgusting, filthy property as it is. And then in here, oh, this is broken. I wonder, so I'd say I wonder if it got hit by the falling tree, but that doesn't make sense. I don't see any debris from any pieces of tree or whatever. So this is confusing, strange. Where is the broken door? I don't even see it. So what that makes me wonder is if somebody wanted to get in here and they couldn't figure out how to get in here, and they just went ahead and kicked through the door, which would be really annoying when people destroy things because they can't get what they want, that they shouldn't be doing anyway. So I'm kind of thinking that's what happened, because what else? Where is the door? If it got damaged by wind or by a tree, we'd see the broken pieces sitting here. So yeah, let's look, make sure it's not just in here. Doesn't look like it is. And this is why you sometimes just want to leave things unlocked, which it was, but because of humidity and stuff, that door was becoming very hard to open. So even though I didn't lock it, it may not have been openable. So I'm really guessing someone kicked in that door just to come down and mess around and see what's in here, which is, the answer is basically nothing. Nothing worth messing with. Some damaged stuff. This was getting damaged already because I've seen water on the floor in here, so I know it's not watertight from above. This needs work. My hope was not to do kind of what I've done so far, which is let it just sit here and deteriorate, because this does have so much potential as a really beautiful little cabin. And I think that may at this point entail kind of gutting it, kind of stripping everything out. I love the image of all this natural wood, and I could keep at least everything on the sides. I could keep this. This is also has become impossible to open. And I will try to, thankfully no one's destroyed it in the attempt, but I think I will need to, I don't know, take a Sawzall and slide it right through this crack. That seems like the best way to get at it, or an angle grinder, slide that angle grinder right in there, cut through that metal. I don't see any other way. Or I could try taking apart the handle, taking the screws out. Try that first, because I'd hate to damage anything in the process. So maybe I can keep certain things like this entryway. Maybe I could keep really clean up, keep these wooden drawers, keep the fridge where it is, keep these cool rods, keep the bathroom as it is. It has a really cool little sink in there. And then I might strip out everything from here forward, just and rework it with a different priority. Or maybe I will really keep it the way it is, get some new foam, custom cut, obviously replace all this gross stuff, or at least really clean it, and keep it more original. Because let's be honest, this is a cool little summer thing to come out and like hang out in because you think it's cool, not because it's a really functional living space. It's never gonna be that. This is a glorified tent. Let's just be really honest, it's a glorified tent. And to try to make it into a whole living space, like, I mean, it's cool. It's like a romantic idea if you're 18 or 20 even, maybe into your 20s. I'm in my mid 30s, and you know, living, I mean, that's an interesting discussion because quality of life expectations have changed so drastically over time in the history of the world, and also by location. So I am in a day and age and location where my expectations are to have a lot more than this to live in. But at the same time, if the majority of my life and the meaning of my life is not derived from the space that I occupy, but maybe rather the things that I do outside of that space, this could be pretty legit. especially with that as an auxiliary location and partial living space. There's a lot of hobbies I like to pursue. For example, music. Playing electric guitar doesn't seem like it's really going to work with this space. This is basic place to sleep, eat, sit, dine, think, journal, read. There's a lot of activities that can happen in this space completely legitimately. And there's others, including having a lot of guests in a comfortable space, or probably raising a family, things like that, that this space is never going to make sense for, no matter how much I work with it. But another idea I had was to take these remaining trees, especially this one, and build a tree house that is a continuation off of this and tie it in with the boat theme. Kind of have like netting, rope netting that you climb up, or ladders or whatever, themed to match the boat and look like rigging on a ship, and have like a crow's nest themed treehouse up there. And then at some point, depending on how elaborate I got with that, and again, time, money, effort, planning, all that stuff, it could potentially become like a legitimate full-size home, albeit a very unique one. So for those of you who are interested, that is exactly where the property stands right now. And it's obviously in the scope of projects. This is not a huge project. It looks like a horrible mess, and it really is. The amount of time that I need to devote to clean this up is really going to depend a lot on how dedicated I am to salvaging stuff. Like, hey, this is a cool ladder for the boat. These other things go with the boat, but will I ever be able to use them for the boat, or figure out how to put them together, or have the desire or reason to put them together in the context of the boat? Probably not. They probably need to go away. This is a big fuel tank. It could probably be used for something, whether fuel or something else. This is a perfectly good plastic storage tank. If my goal is to simply clean up everything that I'm not going to use, get rid of it, burn it, not plastic, I'm not going to burn stuff that's bad to burn, but some of this is wood that can be burned. So if my goal is to simply get rid of everything, clean it up, and get a fresh slate, that can be done in a day or two. If my goal is to reuse, repurpose, resell every possible thing, it's going to involve a lot more organization, planning, effort, time, listing stuff online, etc. And that will be a much longer process. So I have to determine what my goals and process are, and that will determine how big of a project this is, how much time I need to devote to it, etc. Having said that, this is still not a massive time commitment. It's just that time spent on it is time spent not making money, and it's probably time spent spending money, bringing things to the dump, etc. So, again, thank you for watching. And I hope that this will become a project that I post about a lot more in the near future, because I do want to, and I am actively working on striking a balance between always trying to make money, spending all my time making money, and applying that money towards meaningful projects, or projects that are meaningful to me, of which this is one. So my goal is for this to be subject of future videos in the near future, because that would mean that I'm meeting my larger goals. So it's probably the third time I've said this, but thank you for watching, and catch you next time. Now the funny thing is that I first came out here to look for some tires because I got a message on some tires that I put up for sale probably 2 years ago. And my first reaction was to say, oh my gosh, I think I've already sold or got rid of those. I'm sorry, I don't have them. And then I remembered if I kept some tires around, I probably threw them into the one place that already had tons of tires. Like I said, the temptation to just use it as a space to hold on to things, and as such, it's really, not such a bad thing. It is effective for that. Although the primary goal needs to be eventually to clean it up sooner, as soon as possible, clean it up and get the value from this priceless piece of property and unique cabin rather than through $20 in tire sales. But at the same time, for right now, if she gets back to me and still wants them, I did find these tires. I did have them up for sale for $20, so here's $20 coming in if this person still wants these tires that have been sitting out here for quite some time. Without fail, it's the one day that I'm positive I'm not doing anything messy or dirty, and I wear my nice clothes. And that is the one day I'm gonna end up doing the messiest, dirtiest job possible. And this is why you can't have nice clothes if you do manual work. You just can't have them. If you do, you won't. You won't for long. I think that actually does it. Thanks again for watching. Catch you later.